Hello and welcome to the second video of the section Bootstrap Components and Styling. In the previous video, we saw the installation and setup of Bootstrap. In this video, we are going to cover Bootstrap row-column grid structure inside container. Then we'll look at Chrome Dev Tools, and we'll also see how to inspect elements updating their styles. We will see how the grid system works in different dimensions of devices, and what the layout will look like in small, extra small, and large dimension screens. Let's start with the container class. The container class is used for fixed-width responsive container. If you specify dimension with container class, then that division becomes responsive. Another class we have is fluid responsive, which is a full-width responsive container. Let's try to understand these classes first. In this code, I'm using the fluid container class, and if we see it in a browser, it's covering the complete width of the screen as it's a full-width container. Similarly, if we try to use container class, then it will be a fixed width container, and it will not be covering the complete screen on the browser. You can see some left margin here, so when we use container class, it's showing UI with a fixed width container. And when we use fluid container class, it's showing a full width container with responsive layout. You can check the responsive behavior by resizing the screen. Let's start with Chrome Dev Tools. You need to have a basic understanding of Chrome Dev Tools before starting with the web application. Let's see Dev Tools in action. For Dev Tools, just right-click on any application which you want to inspect and select the Inspect Element option. Here you can see DevTool opened, which comes with a lot of features. Here I can change the margin and padding of the container class by selecting and unselecting this checkbox. And you can even add a new CSS property here. You can see the changes happening in the UI. You can also check other things, like computed layout on the right side of the screen. You can check console errors to see any errors from JavaScript, and you can see all the different resources the application is having CSS and JS files. From Chrome DevTools, we are able to update the styles and inspect individual styles. Bootstrap includes a responsive and mobile-first fluid grid system that appropriately scales up to 12 columns. Let's talk about definitions where we can simply say that it's just a group of 12 columns in one row. Or you can say it's just a row having 12 columns, which is covering the screen size. Grid has these three essential classes with it: container or fluid container, row, and column classes. Grid structure needs a container to hold these rows and columns. Let's check this out in our design. Here we have a container, and inside the container, a row class. And inside the row class, we have all these column classes. Here inside the fluid container, we have a row, and that row is divided into 12 columns. You can see class column medium 12, which means that it's consuming all 12 columns of that row. Let's deep dive into the column classes, which are different for different screen sizes. Bootstrap Grid is constructed using these classes, and we have to use these different classes according to our layout design on different screens. Column large 12 represents the complete row as it's consuming all 12 columns. Similarly, column large 1 means one column, and column large 6 means 6 columns of a row. Let's see this in action, how we can divide our row into multiple fragments according to the column classes. For example, column medium 8 is covering 8 columns of the medium screen, and similarly, column large 8 covering 8 columns in the large screen. So, based on different devices and screen sizes, we are using these different classes. Let's see this in action. Every row has 12 columns, and here we have divided those 12 columns into two segments of 6 columns each, column large 6 and column large 6. Similarly, you can divide these into 4 columns using column large 4 3 times for the large screen. Now the important point is, column large classes will play their role only in the large screen. For others, that is small screen and medium screen, you need to define the behavior in the same way. So different classes are available for different size screens, like small, extra small, medium, and large. We can see on the browser that both components are consuming 6 columns each and covering a complete row. Let's combine the classes for medium, large, and small screens. Here we have container and row class. Inside that, we have different classes like column large, column medium, and column small. Let's consider a simple case. Divide the row into 3 parts for large screen. Divide the row into 3 parts for medium screen. Divide the row into 2 parts for small screen. Now, how are we going to do that? To show this behavior, we are using different classes for large, medium, and small screens. Here we will use column large 4 divisions 3 times, which cover 12 columns. It means in large screen, we can have all these components in one row. For medium screen, we are using column medium 4 divisions 3 times, which cover 12 columns. It means in medium screen, we can have all these components in one row. But for small, we are going to use column small 6. That's why the third component will come in another row. If you see the output in the browser, this is the large screen, then the medium screen, and finally, this is the small screen. For extra small, we provided column extra small 12. It means only one component will come in the horizontal screen like this. Let's consider another case and try to do a deep dive into this. Here is another example on the same. Divide the row into 4 parts for large screen. Here we are using column large 3 4 times, so we can have all 4 components inside a single row. Here we are using column medium 4 3 times, so we can have 3 components on a single row. So let's check out the UI to understand the row layouts. All 4 components are coming on the same row for large screen. But for medium screen, as it's using column medium 4, and as 12 columns are already consumed, the 4th component will come to the second row. Here we are using column small 6, so only 2 components are covered in a single row, and the remaining 2 components will come in the next row. Offsetting classes. Sometimes we need to provide left margin inside the column structure. For that, we are using offset classes. Offsetting columns means move the columns to the right using column medium offset classes. It's just a way to give a left margin to a column by providing column numbers. You can use the offset class to give a margin. If you see in the offset example, we are using column large offset 2. It means in a large screen, the first column will have a margin of 2 columns. And similarly for a medium screen, column medium offset 2, the same first column will have a margin of 2 columns. Let's see this in the browser. We can see a 2-column margin in the large screen, and the same we can see for the medium screen. The first component is having a margin of 2 columns after resizing the screen. In this case, as we have provided an offset of 2 columns, 12 columns have already been consumed. So the 4th component will come in the next row. Here in the medium screen also, we have given an offset of column medium offset 2. So the first component will appear after the left margin of column 2. In this case, we don't have enough columns left because we have already consumed enough column components. So it will appear in the second row. In this video, we learned about the Bootstrap container for responsive layout and how to inspect classes using Chrome DevTools. We went through the grid system for different screen sizes, along with the classes and offset. In the next video, we are going to learn Bootstrap table, list, form and glyph icons, and other different classes.